Today I want to tell you guys about Brian. Now Brian had just turned 5 years old and he was about to enter kindergarten. And his parents were loving and they were happy for him and they were happy to send him off on his way. They didn't really understand anything about his school or what he was going to be learning. Now Brian made it through elementary school okay, but by the time junior high came along, he began to fall a little bit behind and slowly became a little apathetic towards the whole school thing in general. By the time high school came, Brian was struggling to maintain a C or even D average. And while he did graduate, it was a lot harder for him than it was for a lot of his classmates. According to Jacqueline Zubracki, teacher and writer with a degree from Yale University in 2011, she writes that childhood, and early childhood in specific, is a pivotal time for your child's success later in life. Stephen B. Sheldon notes that parents' participation in their child's education not only lowers truancy and dropout rates, but it significantly improves overall success and grades. Now, in order to be participatory in your child's education, it's important to understand what the standards are and how you can best help your child. So, the United States has implemented in 45 out of 50 of the states, including the state of California, a new system called Common Core, which standardizes a lot of what your child will be learning in school. So today I'm going to inform you about the Common Core. First, I'm going to tell you about some of the literary elements that your child will be learning about in kindergarten specifically. Second, I will be informing you about some of the mathematical elements in kindergarten. And third, I will be informing you about what to expect beyond kindergarten and some of the other elements of the core. So first, let's look at some of the literary things and standards that your child will be expected to know in kindergarten. According to St. Charles Parish Schools, one of the Common Core state standard schools, in 2012 they noted that there are things your child needs to know before even entering kindergarten. For instance, they're no longer going to be learning their ABCs. They're expected to know that all the 26 letters of the alphabet and recognize what they all are, both uppercase and lowercase letters. Additionally, your child needs to be able to write their name and have a basic knowledge of how to read a book, left to right, and how to hold a book. So those are all things they need to know. Now, the Common Core State Standards website, last updated in 2013, outlines a list of requirements that your children will learn in kindergarten. Now, there's requirements when it comes to reading and writing. Reading is no longer something that's being put off until the first or even second grade. Your child will learn how to read in kindergarten. Beyond knowing their letters, they will learn how to sound those letters out and use the sound combinations to form words. They'll be learning about rhyming words and syllables and using those concepts in order to sound out bigger words. And not only do they need to be able to read the words, they need to understand the content of a word within a given sentence, paragraph, or short story. Now, there's also a writing element to this. Your child by the end of kindergarten will learn how to write and use correct grammar and punctuation within the context of the English language. Additionally, there are listening and speaking requirements for your child. They need to be able to effectively communicate in kindergarten. They need to be able to use full and complete sentences and be able to properly express their ideas and concepts. Not only will they be doing so on an individual level, but they'll be working in groups, having group discussions with other children, and being able to explore topics that they've learned about, topics that they've read about, and be able to accurately ask proper questions in regards to these topics. So there's an important listening, speaking element that your children will be doing in kindergarten. Now, we've talked about the literary elements in kindergarten. Let's talk about some of the mathematical standards. So again, St. Charles Parish Schools has outlined some standards that your children need to know before entering kindergarten. For one thing, they need to know how to count to 20. It's pretty basic. They also need to understand the numbers between 0 and 9, and as such be able to understand the concept that those numbers, when written on paper, form all bigger numbers, that those are the only numerals that there are. So that's an important thing for them to be aware of. They also need to know their basic shapes, such as squares, triangles, circles, etc. Now, once in kindergarten, the Common Core State Standards website again lists the standards. When it comes to numerals and operations, your child by the end of kindergarten will be able to count to 100, both in increments of 1 and in increments of 10. And as such, they must be able to start at any given number. For instance, given the number 27, they must be able to start and know that 27, 28, 29, and count all the way through from any given point. Now, addition and subtraction are also going to be taught in kindergarten, the basics of such. And this is going to be done using either objects or drawings. So for instance, if given a pile of objects, the child needs to be able to understand that by taking 2 objects away, how many objects do you have left? By adding 5 objects, how many are now in the pile? And this is a basic skill that they need to be able to not only understand, but themselves demonstrate using drawings or such objects. Now there are also standards when it comes to geometry and measurement. Not only knowing the shapes, but children need to understand that irregardless of which orientation the shape is in, for instance, if you flip a triangle upside down, it's still a triangle. So they need to have that basic knowledge. They'll also begin looking at which triangle is bigger, this one or this one, and begin to understand that how the size of the sides of shapes dictates the size of the shape itself. So they're already starting to look at basic geometry, perimeter, area, etc. Additionally, they will understand concepts of 2 dimensions and 3 dimensions, knowing where objects are in space and how that does not change their orientation if an object is in front of, behind, or next to another object. So now we have a general idea of the mathematical standards. Let's talk about what life looks like beyond kindergarten for your child. So the Common Core is designed in such a way that each year of school leads into the next year of school. So for instance, your child will be learning basic arithmetic concepts in kindergarten, and that therefore will lead into them being able to understand written operations, understand the way numbers work, and later on be able to do multiplication and division. So it's extremely important that you make sure your child is grasping these concepts as they're learning them in the appropriate grade level so that they can move on with that. Now, according to Leslie David Burns, Professor of Literacy in 2012, the Common Core is specifically designed so that each section of school has a specific purpose. Elementary school is designed to be foundational and have an overarching concepts that your child will need to know. Junior high is the most pivotal time because junior high takes all these concepts and basically cements them in your child's mind. The idea is by the time your child gets out of junior high, they will know basically everything that they need to know for the rest of their lives in terms of English and math, and then be able to expound on those ideas in high school and later in their schooling. So, according to Lindsay Layton, educational reporter for the Washington Post, one other thing that's crucial to know about the Common Core is that technology plays a huge part. In her 2013 article, she discusses that children as early as kindergarten will be learning how to type, and those kids will be expected to be able to type accurately and effectively while not looking at their hands, not looking at the keyboard. This becomes important because children will be expected throughout their school careers to be doing research projects and other homework assignments on computers, which means they will need access to a computer, whether that be at home or whether they have someone taking them to libraries or other places where they can access such resources. So technology becomes a huge factor in your child's education. Beyond this, a lot of schools currently are doing standardized testing with pencil paper. This is something that is changing slowly, and in the next couple years we can expect to change entirely, potentially, because standardized testing is moving from pencil paper to computers. And while when your child enters kindergarten next year, there's a good chance they still will be using standardized testing as normal, within the next couple years they will need to know how to learn computers, and this will be essential in their education. So, today I informed you about the Common Core. First, we discussed the literary standards expected in kindergarten. Second, we discussed the mathematical standards in kindergarten. And third, I told you a little bit about what to expect beyond kindergarten and how you can help your child. So now that you have this information, you are prepared to make sure that your child does the best that they can do in school and give them the best start in life that you can possibly give them, unlike Brian's parents who were unaware. Thank you.